Good morning. I am Steve Weber, and I am the host of the American Gumption Morning Show. Welcome, welcome. So we are broadcasting on Spirituality Gone Wild, my broadcast partner. Lots of great shows and excitement going on with Spirituality Gone Wild, and I'm just honored to be part of that great organization. And also broadcasting on the American Gumption Facebook page, and also American Gumption YouTube channel. So please find us and sign up, follow along. We appreciate that. Alrighty, so today is show number 54. It's Wednesday, October 20th. October 21st, Wednesday, October 21st. And I got a great show coming up. We have Heather Holmes from P2 Probiotics coming back again. Heather was here a couple weeks ago, almost 3 weeks ago. She was here on October 1st, show number 42, and we kind of laid a foundation of what her business and what her company P2 Probiotics is all about, and how that product and it all came to be. Today, we're going to have Heather back, and we're going to do a deeper dive into the technology of how it all works. And so I had to get out my biology and science books and buff up on all this different technical stuff. And so anyway, I'm prepared to have a conversation with her, and we're going to go deeper on it. So try to understand, exactly the science of what's going on. So that's going to be kind of fun. Also have a monologue prepared, although it's kind of a little bit of a last minute thing. And I always like to try to tie my monologue into, the guest and what's going on. So I'm going to talk about beliefs, biology, and cells. And I'm going to take my inspiration from this book here, Dr. Bruce Lipton, and the biology of belief. And so I'll just share some basic thoughts about that. Not going to go too deep into that, but rather just sort of, lay out some things that I think are connected with what the conversation with Heather is going to be all about. All right, so that's going to come up in just a couple minutes. All righty, and then I've got some great guests coming up in the next week, and so I'll just share the lineup that I have set up. Okay, so tomorrow, Scott Stanfield is coming back for the third time, and Scott is the modern longevitarian, and that's basically a person who wants to live a long, healthy life and be in the game the entire lifetime. So he's we did the same thing with Scott. The first interview that I had, we kind of laid the foundation of how it all came to be and who he is, and then we had him back a couple weeks ago, and he talked about sleep and food, and those are two of the 8 pillars of being a modern longevitarian, and then we'll get into some of the other 6 pillars tomorrow, and we'll also talk about his brand new show that he's been broadcasting on live 2 hours after this show. So he goes on at like 12 noon Eastern, and he does about a half hour or sometimes an hour, depending if he has a guest. So he's doing a live broadcast daily also. So I will, we'll talk about that. All right. That's tomorrow. Friday, Brian Gregory, Adminity. And I've taken 4 different tests now. And this is a fascinating idea that Brian has done. He's created a test, a protocol based on true and false questions. If you know what your offer is in the marketplace, what is your product or service, and then you know who your ideal customer is, he has created an advertising protocol that can essentially tell you what your message should be. And there's 15 different, areas or I guess answers, or, basically, I'm not sure what we call them, but 15 different designs that you could fit into one or the other. So these products all kind of fit into one of these 15 different styles. And then from that, he can give you pretty specific ideas on what exactly happens and what your message should be. And so I've taken, because I have people that I'm representing and talking, helping to promote on this show. And then I have my own interest in terms of selling the show. And I have my own interest in finding sponsors. I've taken 4 different tests so far, and I've gotten 4 different results because each of the offer and the ultimate buyer or the client is different in each case. And so this has been fascinating for me to be doing this. I'm going to do at least 1 or 2 more of these tests so that we'll be able to talk about this on Friday with Brian. So that's coming up, Brian Gregory on Friday. Monday, I have Radiance and Steven Tyler, husband and wife, Lighthouse Effects. Now Radiance is one of the hosts on the American or on Spirituality Gone Wild. And she was actually my very first guest in show number 2, way back in week number 1. And Radiance does a musical show. And her husband, Stephen, have been in the music business. They are musicians themselves, producers, and they are building a studio. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the studio that they're building in Indiana. And basically, they've committed their lives to helping people in the musical business overcome some of the personal challenges that are associated with that business and that lifestyle. And so it's really getting to be more of a heart-based, heart-centered attempt to go about doing your business, and that's creating music that is useful for you and speaking from your soul. And so, the drugs and the wild lifestyle, people end up hindering themselves when they don't use those pieces of the industry effectively to help themselves. So anyway, that's their business, and they've got this studio, and they're going to be inviting people in to create music and to perform. And so they'll join us on Monday, and that's going to be a fun thing. And then I don't have a guest scheduled Tuesday, but Wednesday, Tamara Fleming. I've spoke of Tamara many times. She's been a coach and mentor for the last multiple years. She will be here on Wednesday talking about her meaning of space, and how your environment and your space and your place can influence what's doing. And she's the one who helped me rethink what was behind me. I had just kind of thrown a bunch of stuff up there. And so it's a little bit of still of a work in progress. But anyway, I've redesigned things, the backdrop just a little bit. And it's still not quite done, but hey, we're all works in progress. It's about the journey here on the American Gumption Morning Show. And it's not necessarily the destination. So the backdrop is never quite done. It had its own place for the first 50 or 48 shows, and then boom, we changed it the last 5 or 6 shows, and it's evolving. It'll continue to evolve. Alrighty, so that's what's coming up. Alrighty, so now the monologue this morning. What I want to do is let me change one banner. I'm trying to remember to put the American Gumption, the Spirituality Gone Wild logo stays there at the beginning. This is what I would like to do. Then put the American Gumption up when I do my monologue, and then I have a banner for the guest. When Heather arrives, I'll change that out. Last time I didn't change it out right when she arrived. So anyway, learning to do all this stuff is part of the journey, And there's the shoe, and that represents the journey of life. And that's life lesson number 3 from the movie Forrest Gump, the life chapters and the life lessons that we all go through. All righty. So that's it. Let's get into this monologue. And I said, I'm taking my inspiration from Bruce Lipton's book, The Biology of Belief. I read this earlier this year, really when I first ended up arriving in Pennsylvania. So over the winter, I just kind of plowed right through it. In short, the idea is that, so Bruce Lipton is let's start this way. Let's tell you who Bruce Lipton is. He is a cellular biologist, and he was basically back in the 70s. He was studying. He finished his graduate work, and he was just basically studying what goes on in the cell. And the idea back then was that your cells and your genes were fixed. And then, kind of fast forward, and they learned that, instead of, there's 140,000 proteins that the body makes. And so the feeling was that you have 140,000 different types of cells. Each cell makes a specific type of protein. Well, they came to realize when they did the gene, whatever you call it, I can't remember the name of it, but when they figured out what the gene biome or whatever the heck it was in terms of, identifying every gene, and this was in I think the 90s, they identified them. Well, they only came up with 23,000 genes that we have. And so, or cell gene, yeah. So cells, body cells. The idea was that you're going to have 140,000 different proteins that are made in the body, and yet we only have 23,000 different types of cells. So how is it that we can, it turns out that you have one particular cell or type of cell that will create multiple different proteins. And so then how does a cell get turned on and turned off so that it makes either, protein version 1 or protein version 2, because you have these cells that are capable of creating different types of cells. So this is the work that Bruce Lipton has done. And he was initially, like I said, back in the 70s, he was doing this work where he was just studying it. And the belief was that, one cell makes one type of protein, another cell makes another type of protein. But then he was realizing that, wait a minute, this isn't really adding all up, and it wasn't making sense. And so he's doing all this different work, studying the cell. And, he's using these powerful microscopes and looking at it. These are not things we can see. The human eye can't see and detect it, but with the use of tools and technology, he's actually there doing this microscopic research on single cells and how they interact. And what his conclusion, what he realized is that the cell performs based on its environment. And so if you take a cell and you put it in a petri dish with a bad and unhealthy environment, that cell ends up producing bad proteins, or ends up dying and it doesn't live well. And if you put it in a healthy environment, then it does very well. And so that makes sense. You put something in a bad place, and the work that he ended up doing realized that it became a lot of our beliefs. Our beliefs were actually creating that healthy environment or that bad environment. And we've heard the power of positive thinking, but the idea is that if we have healthy thoughts, and we have, more importantly than healthy feelings, and our body creates this environment which is conducive to healthy cell growth, then our proteins that these cells make become the healthier versions of it. And so if you take it kind of a step further, and if you're in that stressful mode where you're constantly under a lot of flight or fright type of situations, and you end up with lots of energy inside of your body, and then proteins made that will put you on that high alert type of thing, your cells don't work so well. So this is how it all works on kind of a biology level. And that's what this book talks about. I'm not going to be able to, talk in great detail about that, because I only read the book. I didn't write the book. And so, but it just makes sense to me that, to live a healthy life, we want to do as much as we possibly can to create our environment. And some statistics that the scientists who have done this type of work, they've come to believe, and research has shown that our body is born, let's just say, pretty close to perfect. And so 95% of the diseases that we end up having are a result of our environment, as opposed to a result of genetic defects that we're born with. So we're not born with a lot of genetic defenses, but we end up having environmental issues that create hazards that will end up making us sick. and what are these hazards? They can be, chemicals. So imagine you have, imagine you work in some kind of an environment where there's these industrial chemicals and you're exposed to them all day long. These things kind of seep into your body, and then they, tend to create mutations and an environment, a physical environment that's not so good. Likewise, you can have thoughts that are not healthy and that end up creating those extra chemical stressors that, adrenaline, that, a higher level of adrenaline that you're living with all the time. Your cells can't, produce some of these other healthier types of proteins that our body needs. And so anyway, you start looking at it. Okay, you got environmental things, you've got, mental things. Well, what kind of things can you control? Well, you can control lots of them. You can control the environment that you work in. Of course, if your job puts you in those hazards, we know about the Julia Roberts movie from, 20 years ago, where, I can't, I'm blanking on the name right now, but the chemical plant out in PG&E, out in the desert, in the California desert. And, they had these chemicals that were trying to clean these certain types of, things they were using. And, these people were all sick and dying from it. And they were exposed to harsh chemicals on a regular basis. And, it ended up killing these people. The 9/11 responders ended up all 20 years later now are all like, there's many people who are getting sick and dying from that initial working on the pile when all of the toxic asbestos and chemical and, dust, ended up getting into their body and system. And of course that ends up having adverse effects. And so, the body's pretty amazing. Little bits of it can handle it and can deal with it, but like prolonged exposure to these toxicities, whether they be physical toxicities like, dust with chemicals inside of it, breathing it into your lungs and then having it pass all through your body, or whether it just be negative energy. And of course, that's Bruce Lipton's, belief part is that, so much of what happens is people end up just with, believing that they are born with some type of a deficiency, or, oh, my family, it runs in the family. Those are beliefs that we get passed down, and we end up all getting cancer in our 50s, or you hear people say that sort of thing, and then sure enough they get cancer in their 50s. And is it the chicken or the egg? And in this case, it's the idea is that some of these beliefs are not necessarily true, but believing them makes them true, makes them come true. So that's that's kind of the idea I wanted to share with everybody this morning, and just lay out like on a microscopic level. I'm just checking, distracting myself. On a microscopic level, all these influences happen, and like little tiny pieces of those, like a burst of this and a burst of that, the human body, you can defend that off and deal with it. But, 10 years of it, 20 years of it, 30 years of exposure to it, well, what happens is the cells now don't function and work the way they were designed to work, or the way that they could actually work if the environment was changed. And now, of course, if you loaded up your system, your body with toxic chemicals over the years, it's not necessarily, it's maybe not something that the body could immediately process out. But if our thoughts and our energies have been toxic over the years, those are something that we could change. And there's lots of, spontaneous healings that occur because of a person changing their beliefs and, just suddenly changing their life. So that's all I guess I was going to say. Now I'm hoping Heather will be here. I was thinking she'd be here by now. Oh my gosh. Have I even sent her? I thought I sent her the, let me do this. Let me resend this to her. I don't know where, let me go ahead and send one more thing. I thought I had sent her the login, but maybe I didn't. There she goes. Oh, okay. Yep. Sure enough, it was my fault. Give me just a second. Sorry about this, folks. I just, she's just messaging me now, and I'm going to text her and tell her that emailed. All right. So I just emailed the new link to her. Yeah, boy. So this is funny because, one of the things I have to do is I have to send the link to each of my guests after I set up the show, because each show has a new link to it. And so I ended up not sending that yesterday. Me, very bad for doing that. And I had been on a good streak where I had a good system going, and I was remembering to do that. And anyway, we set up the show, but I didn't do that. So that was my fault. And I expect Heather will be here any minute now. And so anyway, it would have been perfect. The show would have been perfect had I remembered to do that, because she would have been there. I'd have finished my monologue, and then kaboom, we would have been off and running that way. So we'll just give it one more minute. Now, I'm scrambling. Let me just remind you, tomorrow, Scott Stanfield, Modern Longevitarian. On Friday, Brian Gregory. And we'll just leave it at that. So anyway, now I see Heather has arrived because of me, very bad, not sending the proper link. But hey, we're doing the best we can here. Oh my gosh. It was funny when you weren't, when you weren't there, kind of when I was thinking you were going to be, I suddenly had this thought. I go, did I send the right link? And then I'm like, I don't think I even sent the link. And then I look at my phone, and there's a message that says, hey, I'm using the old link. So anyway, I apologize, Heather. Thank you.
I'm just glad I'm here, Steve. And I'm sorry it's a little echoey, but my computer was at our new warehouse. So hopefully you can hear me okay.
You are at your new warehouse. Is that correct?
Yes, our new office warehouse. So it's really big and fabulous. Yes.
So last week, you guys moved into a brand new, or at least a brand new for you, warehouse.
Big warehouse. Yep. So
this is exciting. All right, well, we'll get into that and talk about it. What I'd like to do is I have a very short bio this time. Last time I went through the whole story, but I want to just give you, introduce you properly. And then we're not going to play the first time guest theme, because, hey, we did that last time.
That's right.
But let me just tell people who you are. Heather Holmes is a missionary for health and wellness. Her business, P2 Probiotics, has a love for people, for pets, and for our planet. They are pioneers in spore or soil-based probiotic technology, and they have developed a robust line of probiotic cleaning, body, and pet care products that all work in tandem to create the home biodome. We love biodome. We like biodome. Yes. The P2 line of cleaning products is revolutionizing what it means to clean something. She is creating health and wellness throughout this cleaning. So, Heather, welcome back.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. Thanks for having me back, Steve.
Yeah, good. So, since then, I've been using the product, two of the products. I didn't bring them in here, but the spray, I'm misting myself, and also there it is. Yep. And then also the mouthwash.
Awesome. What do you think?
I like, and I can actually, I'm trying to decide if the plaque, on my teeth has already reduced, like from just a couple of weeks. And I think it has, but I'm not sure, so it's one of those funny things. And I remember I listened to our interview the first time, and I remember you said that this doesn't take long. These products, you start throwing in healthy probiotics and things happen fast. So I don't know, What do you?
Well, I can tell you that, from the years we've been doing this, the reports we get, from people that use the mouthwash, especially those that really develop a lot of plaque, they go get their teeth cleaned, and the hygienist stops and says, "What are you doing?"
Yeah,
Because they know.
yeah.
So I don't think it's far-fetched if you notice a difference. You probably noticed a difference after the first time you used it, like how your teeth felt, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
And in fact, over the years I've used mouthwash kind of regularly and then kind of not regularly, like cycled off and on. And so, but something about this mouthwash, it's like, it's like I want to do it a couple times a day.
well, the speriment's nice in it too, right? And the important distinction there is that we use spearmint and not peppermint because people have sensitivity to peppermint. So we use organic spearmint.
Yeah,
But
well,
there
it's
was
not it's not real strong. I mean, it's not like,
no,
it's not
no.
like regular mouthwash or mouthwash that you're used to. It's with the alcohol too. It kind of like, it kind of jolts your system. Whereas this is more subtle, which I like and enjoy and look forward to.
Well, I don't know if people saw an article yesterday, but some researchers looked at mouthwash and baby shampoo and said they were effective against coronavirus. Now, they didn't test SARS-2, but they tested against viruses. So if regular mouthwash is doing that, then, we stand a very good chance that ours is much better than that, just because of the science behind it, and just the nature of the probiotics. But anyway, it's pretty interesting. And the air spray, this is my baby because this got me off of all of my antibiotics that I was on. This is the reason I started the company. I just spray it up my nose and my ears. I spray it in the air, and it really does help to eliminate the environment. I can't even talk today. The environmental toxins that we're exposed to, which is really key right now, right? More than
Right.
ever.
Right. So my 91-year-old father and I have both been using the product, and so one of the questions that Dad had was the spraying. He wants to like spray it right into his ear, and it's ended up getting like wet on the outside, but not so much on the inside. So maybe explain why we don't need to like douse ourselves with this. We just sort of need to, can you
Well,
talk
I mean,
to
you
that?
can, because we have a body wash. You can bathe in it and
Okay.
put some hair in it. Um, the interesting part about the probiotics is the spore probiotics, not the ones that you find in yogurt. They actually travel. So they'll spread. So even though you're getting the outside of your ear, because I spray the outside of my ear. I do spray, and you should spray into your ears and up your nose. It's that safe. But especially if you have allergies and everything else and sinus issues, and asthma, it's super important for you to get that good bacteria in there so it starts eating away the biofilm. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But to answer your question, yeah, it is completely safe, and it's important to do that because we're getting exposed through what we're breathing. And we know even with coronavirus, we're exposed with what we're breathing, right? And our ears are no exception to what's coming in. So it's important to spray all of that for sure.
So before I started using the product, I I was noticing my eyes itching, and we never talked about this. So I'm like thinking, oh, well, when I mist, I want to keep my eyes open and let a little bit of it mist into my eyes. And it's been it's been several weeks, but I haven't noticed my eyes itching quite as much. And so, I'm like, I'm not sure if it's working or if it's not working, but I guess I should ask the question, is it safe to allow it to go into your eyes too?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll just do this right now. Like I just breathed it in and I got it in my eyes.
Yep.
Even the mouthwash, people can soak their contact lenses in the mouthwash.
Oh,
So everything we have is food grade, so it's safe for you.
yep.
It has no chemicals, but the beauty of it is you're getting the probiotics there and you're getting it on your skin, which is really good for you as well. So the answer is yes, it's actually really good for you to do that.
If you have the mouthwash and so you mix up a little solution, you mix up a little bit of a solution, right? And, put a couple drops in there. Okay. All fine with that. If before I end up using it as mouthwash, I take a cotton swab, a Q-tip,
Yep.
and I wet it and I, swab my nose out a little bit. Any issue with that?
Nope. It's actually a good thing to do, especially those people that have chronic sinus issues and bronchitis. You definitely want to take that mouthwash and swab your nose. If you are taking Z-Paks, like I did for 20 years, 6 times a year, your gut is ruined and you really need to start replenishing that good bacteria and the right kind of good bacteria. So again, there's a big difference between the plant-based and the soil-based probiotics. So you want to use a spore versus a culture, because we're talking apples to apples, because bacteria and mold and fungus, they deal with the spores, not the cultures, not the plant cultures. So here we are, and we've got sinus issues, and especially we're getting into the time of year where we really have them, in areas. And if you live in an area that's moist, that doesn't even get winter, you're dealing with a lot of molds and things like that. So you do want to put the mouthwash on a cotton swab like you recommended, swab your nose. You can even put it into a neti pot and get it back into your sinuses, and then you can keep this as your bud.
Yeah.
Buddy.
Well, one night, a few nights ago, I'm laying in bed and it was like in the middle of the night. I woke up and I was breathing, and I have another guest, Scott Stanfield, who's going to be on tomorrow, who's been on a couple times. And I remember he said, he talked about breathing and 3 different types of breath and really learning to breathe through your nose. And he said he even would tape his mouth shut at night when he was sleeping. So I suddenly became more conscious of breathing through my nose. And as I was laying there, I was like, I could almost feel my sinus cavity in my nose, like in areas that I never felt it before. And so you think of your nose and you just think of like that first little bit that's like kind of exposed, and then, but you don't realize that there's this whole bigger cavity. So anyway, I feel like it's been opening up. So that's my report.
Well, he's absolutely right, by the way. It's a way of calming our nervous system as well. I mean, we do yoga, we keep our mouth shut and we have controlled breath in and out. So it does make good sense. There are a lot of people that use our products to clean their CPAP machines with our surface cleaner, and then they put the mouthwash into the water reservoir. So that helps them breathe the probiotics in when they're using their CPAP machines too. So, there's so many uses for these products. We could label them 5 million different ways. I've simplified the product line so that you get multiple uses out of each product. But I do want to talk about biofilm a little bit more.
Yeah. So here, let me do this. I'm going to just reference back to our first interview, and I kind of have just a couple bullet points that I'd like to go through and kind of maybe bring people who didn't see that first episode. It's episode number 42 on October 1st. So go back and you can see that. But we excuse me. We talked about your backstory and about some of the, the health issues that you had over the years, and then that you worked in traditional medicine in hospitals, and specifically in the area of medical devices. And you saw a lot of cleaning that went on in hospitals, and the whole purpose of the cleaning was to kill bacteria. And it was like good bacteria, bad bacteria, all bacteria destroyed and clean. And so the combination of your own sinus issues, like 20 years of sinus issues, and then seeing this bacteria killed was kind of like this, awakening moment where you went, oh my gosh, there's got to be a better way. And so then the one other thing we talked about was the fact that there's natural and man-made products that kill bacteria. And so, we won't go through them now, but there's things that are in the environment that you can have. Vinegar or hydrogen peroxide. Those would be more examples of natural.
Essential oils even kill, because they can't discern between good and bad bacteria. And believe me, I love essential oils. They have their place. So for all of you that are using them, I don't ever want to say stop using them, but we still have the need, even with essential oils, to put the good bacteria back in, and they cannot be used together. So we have a way for you to use both. So I personally, I still have essential oils that I use, so they'll never go away as far as I'm concerned. But a lot of people do clean with vinegar or lemon. Citrus is a big biofilm maker. People don't realize this. So, I love that people are in the natural mindset, because we really do need to move in that direction. We've had over 50 years of brainwashing from the chemical companies. We know who they are. I'm not going to mention them, right. That are actually recommended by the CDC right now. They're getting sold out, all of the wipes and so on and so forth. And since there are no wipes, this is a really good time for you to check us out and start moving toward cleaning all the surfaces in your home with the probiotics to get the good stuff back there too. And using the spray in your air and on your bedding and things like that, because we're really at a crucial point. We don't have enough good bacteria. And I do believe that this virus or any virulent mold or another superbug that might pop up again, and they are continually popping up to cause infection and disease and eventually death in many people, we're helping to perpetuate that by the way that we're cleaning and the products that we're using. And so if we're going to clean, everybody needs to clean. We need to wash our bodies. We need to use mouthwash as the gut-brain connection. If we're going to do that, let's use something that's actually not only benefiting you and your environment, but the environment in general, so that we can start putting things back the way that it should be for our planet.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea. And we talked about the healthy ratio being 10-1 the first time, in terms of 10 good bacterias, probiotics to 1 bad bacteria. That's kind of then if that's the ratio, then life goes on and we're all healthy.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult for anything to cause disease and infection in an environment where you've got bacterial balance, because everything starts with bacteria and ends with bacteria. And I mentioned this on the last show, is that if you look at COVID, the secondary infection that sets in is bacterial pneumonia. Yeah. So we're only thinking virus. Well, that virus is hosted by something. Like it has to have a host. And I'm pretty convinced that it's feeding off of the biofilm that has been generated generously by the bacteria in its environment. So
that's a perfect segue into the introduction that we did of what the biofilm was. And I remember you compared it to like 1,000 sheets of cellophane. And my understanding of that was that you take this cleanser, some kind of a chemical, and you wipe across a surface, and while the surface looks clean and you can smell the chemical, but what happens is, like, that wiping and that chemical kind of like creates like a little like invisible shield, like one of those cellophane wrappers, that ends up holding in this bad microscopic bacteria that's in there. And And then you do it again, and another layer gets put on it. You do it again, and another layer gets put on it. And pretty soon you have what is become kind of a toxic stew of these bacterias, bad bacterias that are kind of underneath there. And now when you wipe on top, you don't actually get down to them, because that becomes what we're calling the biofilm.
Well, that's actually a really nice description, because we are piling it on and piling it on and piling. Not only are we piling it on, but when we're using chemicals, we're breathing those in and it's harming us too. So there's a double whammy there. But, if we think in terms, and I want to reiterate this, bacteria, mold, fungus, and viruses help us in so many ways. They're fabulous and we need them. And we've got hundreds 100 trillion different bacteria that are in us, on us, around us. So to think that we have the power when we clean something in our house to wipe out enough bad bacteria to make us safe and healthy is absolutely ludicrous. I mean, there's no way. So we have to play nicely. I call it playing nicely in the sandbox. So if we just kind of work with the bacteria in a beneficial way, then we don't upset it, and we don't make it angry, and we don't allow it to do things that would harm us, right? So when we clean with something that kills, we actually allow the bad bacteria to come back faster. So the 10-to-1 ratio is not there. And then they build this biofilm shelter that's a sticky, gluey thing. You can't see it, but you felt it on your teeth. You felt it on a slippery rock. And if you saw a picture of what it looks like on stainless steel or contact lenses, it's definitely there. And really, what's up? Oh, I see you shaking your head. I didn't know if you had something to say.
I was getting ready to show some pictures that.
Oh, okay. So, the bad bacteria, it'll eat. Bacteria consume food on a surface, nutrients, whatever they can eat to stay alive. So the bad ones are eating all the dead bodies, and then they're excreting sugars to create their shelter. And this is all taking place naturally on the surfaces in you, on you, around you. Okay, I'll repeat that. In you, on you. Yes, and here we go. And what I wanted to say about this is that may not sound so bad to you. You may think, oh, well, you know what? I use a natural cleaner. I don't kill anything. Well, with a natural cleaner, you're just skimming the surface. And this all takes place at the microscopic level. And even if you're using a cleaner with enzymes, you still can't completely get rid of that biofilm layer, and you cannot prevent it from returning. And the reason it's so important is, if you remember the Chipotle outbreak of E. coli, and most of us do, they couldn't. It was like whack-a-mole. They couldn't stop it, and it was so prevalent. So E. coli, MRSA, staph, salmonella, legionnaires, listeria, viruses, mold, fungus, they all live. Wait, go back to that previous slide if you can. The blue one, the blue. That one.
There it is. Yeah.
So if you look here, you'll see that what's living in biofilm, in particular E. coli, it will double every 18 to 24 minutes exponentially. So I could literally stack it to the sun and back 100 billion trillion. I can't even count that number. Can you see that? One cell multiplies to 100 trillion billion times in 24 hours. So, like I said, you can't kill enough bacteria, and especially when it's living in this protective shelter that's feeding it and housing it. And by the way, the bacteria is calling all of its friends. So mold comes and lives in there, fungus comes and lives in there, viruses come and live in there. Okay. So that's why it's crucial to combine the probiotics, the spore probiotics, in a way with surfactants, natural surfactants, enzymes. And by the way, the probiotics that we have, I call it bioengineering the surface. In other words, what they're doing is they're consuming like all of the biofilm in the food so that they can outcompete the bad guys from forming this stuff. And they're creating their own biosurfactants. So our probiotics are continually creating it's nanotechnology. So they're continually creating biosurfactant to continually clean. So we have a distributor in Florida, and he's cleaning the TV stations and radio stations there. And so he goes in and he fogs with a product similar to this, walls, ceilings, everything. And he measures with a meter called an ATP meter, which has been the gold standard for food processing, USDA food processing plants and hospitals for years, but it gives him a numeric value. And after he cleaned, it was almost at a sterile level. And he went back 2 weeks later, and it was still at that sterile level. So I don't want to say sterile, but nearly sterile. So it's an extremely clean surface. And so for 2 weeks, and I don't know what it would be if he even measured out past that point, but that was pretty amazing news to get, because we've never really even measured it out to 2 weeks. We know a week. But in these circumstances, and these are public places where there are people coming and going. It's not like your home. Your home's a little bit easier, and this works, very quickly in your home. So it's amazing to see that. So this is actually, can you go back?
So we can go back. And I've now I'll just go back and let you
lost their train of thought.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I was going to say the key thing is that food, I mean, these are they're living organisms, and they're eating, and then they're
just like we do.
They're excreting stuff. And the point is that the bad pathogens eat and excrete things that are not healthy, and they continue to eat that unhealthy stuff and procreate. Whereas the idea is to create a healthy environment, because the environment's going to exist whether it's healthy or unhealthy. And with the healthy environment, when you saturate it with these healthy spore-based probiotics, well, then what they excrete is like a protein that they end up eating and continuing the whole cycle.
Yeah. So if you read up here in the top of it, biofilm binding matrix, it's really, I'll put this in simple terms, but they're excreting sugars basically. So, which is food for them. So you're right. So it is continual sugar for them. Now you can also see that bacteria, fungus, algae, even algae, we didn't even talk about that, but that all lives in here. So you can see the biofilm is that sticky gray stuff right there. So this is their shelter, and this is under a very high-powered microscope, but you can see that. If you'll skip down to 2 slides. Oh, wait, go back up. That slide right there. No, not that one, that one. Oh.
This one?
No, not that one. Yeah, that one. So, no, where are you going?
Oh, this one?
Well, we can leave we can talk about this one right now. So I mentioned biofilm on your teeth, on your contact lenses, but look at biofilm in your lungs. We didn't show a picture of biofilm in your gut, but you could see that too. Anywhere there's water or moisture, you'll have it. This is why in food processing plants, our product's so important as well. And so if you go back up to the 2 slides about that one right there. Nope, that one. So I mentioned what lives in biofilm, and you can see it there. There's a long list of characters that are in here. So particularly in your home, if you think about it, we always are concerned about salmonella,
Yep.
right? And E. coli. And now we have to be concerned about MRSA. You can pick it up I hate to say this, if you have a little cut, you can pick it up on a shopping cart. We don't have antibiotics that really help us. We're kind of back in the 1500s when you get a cut and you die. I don't want to scare people too much, but I mean, we have to be thinking about these things right now, because if you think an antibiotic is going to help you, chances are there's not an antibiotic at this point in time that is really doing a lot of good in most instances. And I'm not going to say all instances, but in most instances, because we built resistance to them. So now biofilm, when this is a hard subject for most people, because most people are trying to wrap their head around it now. To simplify this, biofilm is bad. That's
Yes.
all I'm going to say. Biofilm is bad. It's on everything. It literally is on your cell phone. It's on your skin. It's up your nose. It breaks off. It doesn't stay stationary. It goes everywhere. So if you think you clean one spot, it doesn't matter. Now, if you're cleaning with our probiotics, we know that they spread out. If you're cleaning with anything else, you just clean that one spot. So that's an
And
important
if you
distinction.
take the the wet chemical wipe and you go over it, all you're really doing is creating more biofilm, because you're cleaning off that surface, but now you're trapping that microscopic bad stuff underneath of it, and then you clean it the next day and you're putting that another layer on of cellophane and sealing it in. And whereas your products end up being able to eat through that and then create an environment, because you're always going to have bacteria, you're always going to have fungi, you're always going to have things, but you want to have the healthy ones, the ones that are not going to harm
Well,
you.
you just want to keep them in where they're benefiting us and not harming us. That's really the key, right?
Right.
And we have enough studies that we've done, and we can see, there's a hospital study that was done over 4 years where they had a probiotic cleaning system, and we show that it has very long-term beneficial effect in reducing infection. In fact, up to 96% reduction. So this is not, made in your mom's kitchen. This is really important technology for now and the future. And I just don't think enough people understand this or know this. And one of the concerns I have, which I mentioned in the last talk, is that there are a lot of companies wanting to get into this market right now. So they're either using plant-based probiotics, and you need sugar to keep the plant-based cultures alive. They don't get rid of biofilm. So what good are they? It's another natural cleaner that is possibly adding more biofilm to your surface. And we'll talk about this in a sec. And then also, you know, we have to be thinking in terms of, how are we going to stay healthy ourselves? How do we keep our immune systems healthy? Because there's a direct correlation and effect between having a healthy environment in your home and having a healthy environment internally in your gut. And in order to help your gut, you need to eliminate the toxins, the toxic chemicals, and use the right natural cleaners. And the natural part is important, right? Because we don't want to add to what's already out there and what's going on and creating more bad bugs. We just need to kind of try to put things back where nature is working with nature. So when we look at this graphic, as I mentioned, detergents just kind of clean the surface, and that's what you get with a regular natural product or something, even if it's antibacterial, you're still just kind of cleaning the surface. You're not getting to that biofilm layer, which is the third layer down there. So you have detergents that clean surface dirt and soil and loosen it. Then, I remember scrubbing Bubbles and even OxyClean today. They have enzymes in them, and they do go deeper. I mean, there's no doubt about it. And you feel like you're the cleanest you can possibly be, and enzymes are fantastic. However, they only pit the biofilm. So if I took a pen um, as my enzyme reference and poke the biofilm, that's all I'm doing. So it makes you feel like you've gotten everything back to normal, but you really haven't. So we need to add the spore probiotics back into the equation here to get to that third layer. So that's our final power punch to the whole equation: detergents, enzymes, probiotics. And we're talking surfaces here, but each of our products in their own way has the ability to do just this here. So different formulations, but the mouthwash does it, the body wash does it, even, our pet water additive for our pets. 70% of our customers drink our mouthwash. So, like I said, there are multiple uses, and the product line has been designed to clean, balance, and protect, and to provide a complete lifestyle for you so that you don't have to try to figure out, do I need to use it here? Do I need to add probiotics here? It just is a great adjunct to your wellness regimen, and also a way for you to help your immune system and the immune system of your environment so that it doesn't harm you either. And, we always talk about our insides, but I'll say what I said last time, which is our environment has an immune system that mirrors our body's immune system. And when we wipe out all of the good bacteria in our gut with an antibiotic, many physicians are prescribing probiotics, right? Well, we have to be thinking about our environment the exact same way. So if you're going to continue to choose to use antibacterials, sanitizers, disinfectants, then please, I deplore you to at least get, our air spray or something, or get it, use our body wash and our mouthwash, at least so you're getting some of the probiotics into you and into your environment.
The environment is, if the environment that we live in is healthier, we in terms will be healthier. And so the idea is that you're going to make yourself healthier by your environment. Now, of course, there's these, especially today, we're all fearful of COVID, but if our body is stronger and healthier, it will be able to potentially fight off some kind of a nasty illness like COVID much better. But if we've created an environment where we're constantly wiping out all of the probiotics, we're creating the microbe or the biofilm, which we agree we do not like. We've created this environment of biofilm. Well, that's weakening our system like on a microscopic level, day after day after day after day. And so we're now being in a our body is in a weaker position than it would be as if we were living in a healthier external environment day after day after day. Am I getting it?
Yeah. And I want to say something about this. I am not saying that you don't need your vitamin C and your D and all of that stuff. This is just an adjunct to your wellness regimen. And about 70% of our customers have some sort of autoimmune disease. So they've found us, they rely on us. We work closely with the functional medicine community, have for years, and they don't use products that they don't try themselves and believe are the best for their patients. So, we are not just a consumer company, we're a consumer health company. And
Right.
that's really our differentiator. And I really hope that people will listen to this, try to understand it better, and do something that's really beneficial for themselves and their family and their kids. We have a lot of kids going back to school now. We have kids going to daycare now. Things have opened up a little bit, and this is important.
We're going to clean. We're buying cleaning products today, and this is a better alternative, or it's an alternative. It's an alternative option that people are unaware of, and the research that you've done shows that it's actually a better solution. So I think I'm going to encourage people to try it. I'm trying it. I like it, and I feel like it's and it just makes sense. It seems like it makes sense. We don't have enough time to go deeper into the more areas, and maybe you'll come back and we'll do this again.
I would love it.
Yeah, let's keep it going then. The last thing I just want to say is that the CDC, the Center for Disease Control, very much in the news these days, very much doing this. Why are they not hip to this and talking about it? And why are they recommending?
There's a very good reason. Because we've got some big companies that give them a lot of money. So that's all I'm going to say. And the EPA. So enough said. Yep.
Big cleaners. All right. Well, so anyway, but we know now, you and I know, and we're going to spread this word, and other people will know, and they'll find it. And the people you said in the autoimmune community who have issues, they figured out that this helps them. So this creates a better environment for them. People who do not have an autoimmune system maybe haven't gone this route because they haven't had the need, so they haven't searched it out to do it. But a
lot of people are using what their mothers used to clean, right?
There you go. That's right.
And we've been trained to believe that if it looks clean and it smells clean, it's clean. I mean, I still sniff my clothes, like we all do it. So it really, that has a different meaning now with the over sanitization and disinfection that we've done for years and the overuse of antibiotics. We can't think that way anymore. We just can't. We can't use what our mamas used.
Well, let's just wrap up, and I'll say that the P2 Probiotic Power product they can just go to p2probioticpower.com and they can see your product. There's lots of reviews online. People have been using the product. I encourage people to check it out and see if it's something that could be beneficial for them. And I do think this is really important, Heather. So I would like to, we'll find another time. We'll come back and we'll go into we're both learning how to talk about this in a way that makes sense for the average person.
I know it's such a crazy, difficult subject, and it's so simple at the same time, which is really wild. But
my goal is to make it so that people can just understand it. My 91-year-old father would love to is using it, but he's like, he wanted to know how it works better. So hopefully we made a first attempt at it today. But let's keep the conversation going, and we'll make it a mission to train the world if we have to.
I like that mission. It's awesome.
All right.
Thanks, Steve.
Great. We'll see you again next time. Thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome back in the near future.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Bye.
All righty. Well, that was Heather Holmes from P2 Probiotic Power. It's really, it's funny. I've done enough work or research on, and I mentioned it, the biology of belief. So cellular level, I've come to try to understand this. What's happening at that, on the quantum level of going on. Well, this is really the quantum level of cleaning, and so for me, this is a fascinating subject, and I just want to, I want to live in a healthy environment. I want the world to be a healthier place. These chemicals that are, it's just, we've kind of tipped the scales too far. Chemicals made our lives better in many ways, but they've made our lives worse. And so anyway, this is a natural product that you can use, and hopefully it'll be something that you try. And if you do, let me know. All righty. Tomorrow, Scott Stanfield, the modern longevitarian, he will be here on Friday. Brian Gregory, Admanity, the man who has created a protocol for your advertising. If you know who your customer is, and if you know what your product is, he will tell you what type of, he has an online test you can take to actually tell you what type of advertising message you should use. This is great you can hire a big advertising firm and they'll figure this out for you. Or you can just, if you're a small business owner, you can go ahead and take his test. It's reasonable to get it, and lots of great information. And then Monday, Radiance and Steven Tyler, Lighthouse Effects. Radiance is the host of one of the shows here on Spirituality Gone Wild, and her and Steven, her husband, are committed to helping musicians up their game in terms of taking care of themselves physically and psychologically as they go about creating music. They were touring musicians for many, many years, and they survived, and now they're helping others. And then Wednesday, Tamara Fleming, The Meaning of Space. So that's it. Have a great day, everybody. We will see you tomorrow. Let's see. We have one or two. Scott Stanfield, our guest for tomorrow, checked in and said that he's going to, he says he's going to buy some of the P2 power right now. Look at that. Let's throw that up there. Thank you, Scott. He is the modern longevitarian. He will be here tomorrow. He's going to buy some right now. So there you go. Thank you, Scott. All righty, everybody. Well, we will see you tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. And Scott will be here with us tomorrow.